Honorable Dr. Veerappa, Sri Monga, Sri Venkatchailah001, Dr. Madhav Menon, Sri Hiranandani, many distinguished, respected invitees, delegates. I'm honored to be with you this morning. Just now, Yuvraj Jain said that I mentioned my age as 78 some time ago, and I'm sticking on to it. There's an interesting story in Iran. The Prime Minister couldn't have gone beyond 80 years. Mr. Mossadegh celebrated his 79th birthday 10 times over. So that is. I say my friend Justice Kamaleshwar Nath here. He was in Bangalore as the Upa-Lokayukta. Those days it was all great men over there. This meet is perhaps very timely. Tomorrow, perhaps it will be too late. There is no need for any of these discussions at all. Scientist was asked, Einstein was asked some time ago, what kind of weapons that they used in the Second World War or the Third World War. Immediately after the Second World War, he was asked what kind of weapons they used in the Third World War. He said, I don't know what weapons they used in the Third World War, but I'm sure what they used in the Fourth. They asked him what it was. He whispered, sticks and stones. Third World War will put an end to all civilization. And you will have to go back to sticks and stones in the Fourth World War. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what's happened to us. We don't know what we are going to do in the next 10 years. The next 10 years, next decade, is perhaps going to be the most stunning decade in human history. The kind of changes that you will see in science and technology, communication, is going to be mind-boggling. We will be unequal to be able to respond to the social challenges or the changes that they will bring in. Already we have an idea of what's going to happen. Sitting here, I can go in flesh and blood, a laser-built image. This is the science of teleporting. I go to my son's place in New York, tap on his door, and appear before him in almost flesh and blood in 3 dimensions and talk to him. If he puts his hand through me, it will go through this because it's a laser-built image. This is not simply just a scientific fiction or fantasy. It is a reality. This teleporting has already come. And fantastic things are happening. Recently, a gentleman, a doctor and a software man who made his billions before he was 40 and turned to human physiology and physiology of aging. Raymond Kurzweil and another doctor wrote a book a couple of years ago. It was published. It's called Fantastic Voyage. He asked this question: with our present state of knowledge of human physiology, can we arrest aging? He says, yes. And he gives 4 simple rules. If you follow these 4 rules, you can add 1 year to your lifespan every year. Mind you, you can add 1 year to your lifespan every year. And if you somehow manage to live up to the end of this century, you can live forever. This is the kind of things that are happening in science, in medicine. The next century is not century of India or China. It is the century of science, the century of medicine. It is something which is going to change the whole civilization. And the biggest millstone around the neck of our country, the next generation of Indians, the biggest millstone around their neck is going to be our judicial system, our administrative system. Ladies and gentlemen, let us face facts square and upfront. We must understand what we have lost. What we have lost is something too precious to be mentioned in any seminar. We have lost our freshness of emotion, our faith in the idea of India. Immediately after Mr. M.N.Venkatachaliah Singh became the Prime Minister, just about that time, he invited me to address the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation on the idea of India. I took 2 months to prepare a talk, and that was published, I think they have. I said, why is India respected? Why its civilization has been enduring? All civilizations perished except perhaps the cynic and the Indian. Why did Indian civilization prevail in spite of all its internal contradictions? And this idea of India is in great danger because we have made people cynical. And if you are disenchanted, you are dissatisfied and disenchanted with the institutions of democracy, as we indeed are, people become cynical. Cynicism at such points of time in history have shown that it becomes a great power of destruction, not of reconstruction. People become too short for loyalties and they disregard all the conventional morality and human instincts. That's why in the 17th century, great scientists, there is the crucial period when human race changed its attitudes. The 3 great scientists of the 17th century, Galileo, Newton and Copernicus, why all of them were, Newton was a devout Christian, but what they did undermined the Christian faith in God. 18th and 19th century became the most confused centuries in human history. 20th century became the bloodiest century in human history. Killed 210 million people in this century, the last century. As the chairman of the Human Rights Commission was addressing a group of international human rights associations, I said, there is a great author, French internationalist and scholar, and a professor, Professor René Cassin, who was a member of the committee of Eleanor Roosevelt, the United Nations Committee to draft the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. When he was asked, why do people want a Universal Declaration of Human Rights, he was a very modest man. In fact, in the 10th of December 1948, the 3rd General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. By a felicitous coincidence, 20 years later, Professor Kazan was conferred a Nobel Prize for Peace on the 10th of December 1968. On that occasion, somebody asked him, why do we need a universal declaration of human rights? In a great understatement, he said, we need a universal declaration because men are not always good. I said this word, men not always good, can be a fitting epitaph on the grave of the 20th century, where we have killed 210 million people, 140 million people in wars, and another 60 to 70 million people in civil strife, commotions, riots, not unrelated to ethnicity, caste, religion, community, and a whole host of things that divide man from man. When India started our journey, Ambedkar was asked, why did you build such a huge document of a constitution? There are constitutions in the world, American Constitution has 7 clauses, it's about 4 pages. Why do you want this big tome? He said, I'm not apologetic about it. No constitution works by itself. And it's the constitutional morality, spirit of constitutionalism, that makes a constitution work. And in India, he said, constitutional morality is a mere top dressing on Indian soil. And I want all institutions of governance to be put under the common bond of constitutional justice. When lawyers and judges say this is a purely executive function, there's nothing like a pure executive function in the Indian democracy. Indian constitution has built every bit of administrative detail into the constitution. Everything is justiciable. An English judge once said that even an act of declaration of war in England is justiciable in the English courts. But they don't do it. They don't do it because there are no judicially manageable standard by which to say this is wise or unwise or lawful or not. Here, our constitutional democracy has a demise. After the exit of Pandit Nehru, constitutional democracy in this country came to an end. A constitutional democracy is a democracy which works under the limitations of institutions, safeguard of constitutional institutions, courts, human rights commissions, legislature, and a whole host of institutions which are supposed to